Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we will be drawing fan art of Shadow Milk Cookie from Cookie Run Kingdom and talking about his character in the most recent updates, as well as my theories on where his development will take us next. So I do need to put a disclaimer, this discussion is for the most part not about how happy and carefree and silly he is. You know, cause Silly Cookie Game loves to make me feel all the emotions. Anyway, with all that said, let's jump right into it. First thing I'm drawing is a piece of fan art I actually made for the fan art contest a few weeks ago. Ironically, this is the creepier looking picture that I'm going to use to talk about the more lighthearted Shadow Milk things. If you don't know who Shadow Milk Cookie is, he's a villain, for now, from Cookie Run Kingdom called the Beast of Deceit, and he's the evil counterpart of Pure Vanilla Cookie, the hero of truth. He's a very silly, wacky, out-of-the-box character, and I love his sprites so much. They're some of the most expressive in the game, but he's also a character with a lot of pain under his smile, which we will be talking about later. Kinda random, but I made a community post announcing this video, and a couple of the people thought it had something to do with my Shadow Cheese ship. And yeah, that was my bad. I worded the post weirdly and I made people think it was a Valentine's Day special, so just I'm so sorry about that, guys. For anyone that might be newer to my videos, I ship Shadow Milk with golden cheese, and I do want to make a video on that. It'll probably be after the legendary costumes release, so I can draw a costume Shadow Milk with Awakened Golden Cheese. And hey, look, it's a transition! Guys, when I say I've never been so hyped for a costume release, I mean it. This is the first time I have ever saved a significant amount of rainbow cubes. I have 25k when I'm writing the script, and by the time this video comes out, I'll probably have more. That is a lot of costume pulls. I've been saving since episode 7 because I saw the silhouette leaks of Truthless Recluse and whatever the Shadow Milk costume is, and I kind of could tell I wanted to start saving. I really want to get that Shadow Milk costume, guys. I'm not, desperate, but I am really excited he's getting a costume so soon, and just look at it! I'm in the camp that thinks this is a redeemed Shadow Milk design instead of a pre-corrupted one because A, the Soul Gem is still upside down, and B, compared to all of the other pre-corrupted designs we've seen, this looks like none of them. This silhouette is way closer to Beast Shadow Milk. Truthless Recluse is cool too. I'll probably use that instead of the Based Awakened design once I get Awakened Pure Vanilla. What can I say? I like him when he's emo. I'm gonna move away from the silly jester specifically and talk about this masterpiece of a character. This is Black Sapphire Cookie. He is the newest epic cookie and the second of Shadow Milk Cookie's helpers, the other being Candy Apple Cookie, who, I don't know what I think of her yet, honestly, but that's a whole other thing, because who cares about her when we have him? This man is legitimately my new favorite epic cookie. Just look at him, he's such a silly little guy. His color scheme is so nice, and his personality is amazing, and his voice actor absolutely cooked. And fun fact, he is, I think, the first character in Kingdom to have earrings, and that's just kind of cool. I love his role in the story, and him and Candy Apple are just canon chaotic siblings. He's a show host or a podcast host, and that's what his giant stick is. It's a microphone that's actually alive, and it's his pet or his companion, and that's just the cutest thing. A lot of the fandom just kind of agrees that Black Sapphire is just straight up Shadow Milk's son, because Shadow Milk generally seems to have a very high opinion of him and prefer him to Candy Apple Cookie, and honestly, I'm no different. I don't want to go into my theories about how he came to exist, because that could be its own video, but the really, really, really basic gist of it is that I think Shadow Milk took in Black Sapphire and raised him as his own. And I love to think that Black Sapphire's microphone was just a birthday gift that Shadow Milk made for him when he was 4, and it was way too big for him, but he just loved it. And fun fact, this whole ordeal is another thing I've been thinking about Shadow Milk since the Moonlight update, because that's when I started playing again. But for some reason, when I saw this silly little jester, my brain just goes, oh yeah, he'd be a dad. And now the fandom kind of agrees with me, yay! Okay, I'm actually going to talk about the art now. This picture has a really, really basic concept. Everyone and their dog has drawn Shadow Milk doing a generally creepy puppeteer pose, but I do love how it turned out. I wanted the shading to look kind of dark and have him be lit from the bottom, So I used a method I do for darker shading where I just kind of cover everything in a multiply layer and erase into the highlights, basically drawing light instead of drawing shadow. I also really love how the pose turned out. It looks actually really interesting, and both of his hands look really, really good. I especially love how I did the puppet strings holding up the little cookie, and I do give him some pants at the end, just because I felt like it. When I started drawing, I wanted the pose to look more sassy, but when I finished it, it looked way more unnerving, and I kind of dig it. I shaded everything with very saturated blues, because that's basically the only color in the picture. And there's my creepy Shadow Milk drawing. I hope you guys like it, and the next picture is going to look less creepy, but the topic is going to be a lot deeper and heavier, so there's a warning. For the actual picture, I'm drawing my interpretation of this scene, because the second I saw it, I got like the uncontrollable urge to draw it. I mean, just look at him! It's not an exaggeration to say I've watched this scene like 5 or 6 times. It hurts me to watch, guys. And it gave our little irredeemable jester redeemable qualities. When I'm drawing the pose, I chose to have him holding his staff up by his chest because honestly, otherwise he's just kind of standing there. And also because it helps push the emotion I wanted to portray in the picture. I have quite literally been predicting Shadow Milk is gonna get a redemption arc since Beast Yeast 1 and 2. Something in me could kind of just tell there was more to him than meets the eye. And it's kind of weird to summarize what most of us know happened, but I don't know if all of my audience plays Cookie Run, so I do need to. Right before getting beaten, Pure Vanilla Cookie just kind of rips into Shadow Milk Cookie's soul and reveals his trauma. And on an unrelated note, Pure Vanilla Cookie, please give me his backstory. You know what it is, and you're not telling us, and that makes me kind of sad. But back to my main point. Basically, Pure Vanilla calls out Shadow Milk for why he's not completely evil. My silly little guy is lonely. I just want to wrap him up and tell him it's gonna be okay and that he's got a whole fandom behind him. And the nice thing about how they set this up is that if we look at the other stories with Shadow Milk, we can see his loneliness peeking into the surface. He is very social and is always treating his attacks like games. He kept the whole thing in the Fairy Kingdom going. He sought out Wing Archer Cookie in that whole story, and he spent the entirety of episode 8 basically trying to have a playdate with Truthless Recluse, right after he spent all of episode 7 traumatizing him. It is clear as day that Shadow Milk just wants a friend, but I don't think he just wants any friend. I think he specifically wants a friend that knows exactly what stuff he had to go through. Because the more I look at exactly what he did to Pure Vanilla, the more I can see that this is probably all stuff he had to deal with too. Identity crisis? Check. Probably feeling helpless, worthless, or purposeless? Check. Losing everything he valued? Check. He wasn't just randomly going at Pure Vanilla to get back at him. He hit him strategically to try and create a cookie that knew how he felt and would want to be his friend. In Shadow Milk's head, he probably thought that if Pure Vanilla Cookie was alone too, he'd gravitate toward Shadow Milk as a friend and they could be alone together. And this is where I think everything went wrong. Because Pure Vanilla made a decision that he probably should have seen would backfire. He decided to trick and betray Shadow Milk. And I can see why he would do this. It was his only option. But then he awakens, gets a shiny new form with new powers, and tries to redeem him. And this is something Shadow Milk Cookie wanted. You can hear in his voice that he wants to say yes. And in all of his voice lines after that, you can hear that he's about to cry or something. Seriously, the voice actor did such a good job with this. But he still said no. And not only that, he said no, gasped like he had some sort of realization, and then lashed out and attacked. And I think I know what happened. I don't think he trusted that Pure Vanilla was being honest. I think that Shadow Milk heard this and then was about to accept, but maybe the light of deceit started talking to him and said something like, he doesn't want you to be your friend, he just wants you out of the way so you won't be a threat. And my theory is backed up by this line here. kindness is said sarcastically twice. Like, Shadow Milk doesn't believe Pure Vanilla is really being kind. And if we're looking at Pure Vanilla from Shadow Milk's perspective, this makes sense. From Shadow Milk's point of view, Pure Vanilla has spent his whole life benefiting from Shadow Milk Cookie's pain and just got done betraying him. He wants to have a friend, but clearly he does not believe that anyone would ever really be his friend. He probably thinks that nobody ever wants to bother with him unless he forces them to, and that the only comfort he can ever have is the comfort he creates. And to prove that, we have this line here. We gotta remember, Shadow Milk Cookie created the Spire of Deceit. He controls it, and everyone in it obeys him. Let's put that another way. Shadow Milk Cookie is literally living in a fantasy world of his own creation where he is in control, he is in the center of attention, and he probably thinks this is the only place he can be happy. That cannot mean good things for his mental health. And I just want to say real quick that I don't actually know what I'm talking about. I don't study mental health, I didn't even research any of this, I just interpret what I see, so take everything I say with an entire cup of salt and absolutely do not relate it to any real people. So, what do I think will happen next? Well, I think one of two things is going to happen. One, when the legendary costumes release in about a week, we'll get a special episode all about either Shadow Milk's backstory, or his redemption, or both. Debsis needs to give this its own story if they're going to do it in one chunk, or it's going to feel rushed. Or two, we'll get smaller glimpses of Shadow Milk in other stories, kind of like we got with Wind Archer, and for the 5th anniversary, when they probably reveal the ultimate cookie or something, it comes to a head and he joins the good side. Those seem like the two most likely options, but I'm definitely rooting for the first. Honestly, it feels like the only thing Debsis hasn't done yet is write, "Hey, we're redeeming Shadow Milk Cookie" on the home screen. Because the new arena cake hound is a wolf in sheep's clothing, and in its description, it literally says that it wants to be friends with a certain cream sheep. There isn't much more vague implying Debsis can do at this point. Gonna finish off the speed paint with some art talk. This picture went through a massive ugly phase when I started shading, and part of me really wanted to just delete my multiply layer and start again, but I know by now that I just gotta push through it. Most pictures go through ugly phases, and sometimes it is good to start over, but usually it'll pass. Instead of doing any fancy stuff for the lighting like I tried at the beginning, I just highlighted everything with a paint color and then worried about it at the end when I just added some colorful rings around the border with a textured brush. Then I added a little thought bubble with the iconic line. I shaded the bubble because it was feeling really flat compared to everything else, and I couldn't decide if I liked it better up in the corner or down in the middle, but I eventually settled on the corner. And here's the finished Shadow Milk Cookie art. In my opinion, I feel like I did a pretty good job with the emotion I wanted to convey on this one. And something random I didn't mention during the speed paint is that in his eyes, I made like the little darker ring I have, the light of deceit, while the highlights are shaped like the light of truth. Just an overall pretty halfway decent picture in my opinion. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and comment any thoughts you got down below. And with all that said, have a great day, everybody. See ya!